my Super 73.
I was at a local bike shop the other day, and I felt like I became a salesman. I think it is worth it. I mean, you're not going to spend less than 2,500 bucks, but even so, at 2,800, it's still a freaking steal. Today, we're zipping around town, and the topic of discussion is the Super 73 R series worth it? And what brings this up is I was at a local bike shop the other day, and I felt like I became a salesman. I was sitting there waiting to pick up my bike, and there was this guy there, maybe 30, and he's like, "Oh my God, what's your bike?" And I told him, and he said, "Well, what's the difference between that and like the aerial rider or the Kaysen or you know, one of those types of bikes?" And I said, well, and I kind of turned into a salesman, and I started talking about all the benefits of the Super 73 R series. And I found myself talking about the price, how they're pretty comparable. But then I started talking about the build quality, the durability, the battery, the power, the range. And I just kept talking. And the guy's like, "Wow, sounds like I really need to get the Super 73. And I said, "Yeah, I think you do." And especially at the given prices right now, Super 73 R is like 2,700, something like that, and the RX is like 3,000, 3,100, something like that. It's really good quality, you know. And having ridden all those bikes I've talked about, including the Segway dirt bike, and a mid-drive bike that I have, a Fuji mid-drive, and a Pedigo, and a couple others, I feel somewhat informed to be able to talk about the value of the Super 73 R, or RX, or perhaps even the S2. But I'm primarily talking about the R and the RX with the dual suspension. I think it is worth it. I mean, you're not going to spend less than 2,500 bucks to get a decent off-road capable electric bike these days. You're just not. You spend less than that and your bike's going to be shit. So that kind of puts all these bikes in the same category, you know. For the most part, these 20 inch by 4 inch tire motorbikes. And the Super 73, kind of what makes it stand out, one is the really big battery. You can look at the amp hour comparison, but you know, just for example, the aerial rider, right? The D series, or I can't remember what it's called, but the D series aerial rider, right? Just looking at Dylan Thompson's, shout out to Dylan Thompson, his channel. Dylan Thompson, he keeps riding around with his buddy who has one of the Ds, and his buddy has to use double motors front and back to keep up with his R series Super 73. His buddy runs out of battery at like a heartbeat. He keeps doing speed tests and he keeps winning on the R series. And overall, the cool factor, his bike just looks 1,000 times cooler than the D bike, the D series aerial rider. So there you go. That's just the aerial rider. Then you look at like the Kaysen, right? Not as much power, smaller motor, smaller battery, and no shocks in the back, right? And then you look at something like the Kruger, right? I know there's like a Kruger, or like let's look at the Stealth Bomber, for example. Yeah, they're freaking huge in terms of output, like even like 8,000 watts. But they're not very comfortable. Very aggressive styling, like a motorcycle. Seats uncomfortable. You're kind of crunched because again, it's got this aggressive styling for carving on the off-roads. You're not going to want to ride it long term. Yeah, it's got insane power, but are you really going to be able to ride that on the street and not get pulled over? Maybe in some areas. But the Super 73, in terms of bikes that you're not going to get pulled over on, kind of seems to have the best of everything. The power, the range, the comfort and the styling, you know? So, all in all, is the Super 73 R Series worth it? Yeah, especially now that they seem to have gotten, with the later versions of their hub motor, the problems with the hub motor fixed. Especially if you get a new seat, like a Super Squad seat from Etsy. You have it fully charged, and you got the dual suspension, which you can adjust. So overall, it just seems like Super 73 kind of wins hands down. And again, that's why I felt like a salesman for this guy, you know? So anyway, and also I got mine at my R Series at $2,450 because I bought it a few months ago when it was even more on sale. But even so, at $2,700, $2,800, it's still a freaking steal, you know? So anyway, hope that helps you if you're on the fence. Hope that helps you make you feel good if you've already got one. If you got the aerial rider, I apologize. I know I've got some avid followers that are probably gonna chime in and say, what are you talking about my aerial rider for? But I'm just doing a head-to-head, you know? I think the aerial rider is probably a great bike, and I'm sure it has some great merits, but you know, comparing it on the factors I compared it on, it doesn't seem to add up, you know? So anyhow, that's it for this one in terms of commentary.